Welcome back to this 5 week series of language learning activities using paper. Again, most of these activities are the way that I'll talk about them are geared very specifically towards traditional language classrooms, but they can be adapted to independent learners and to individual independent teachers as well. The first activity I want to talk about is called Nature Walk, and I'm wondering if this video will play. Okay. Um, you can do this any time of year. I think it works really nicely if for some reason it's really pretty outside, gets us outdoors, it gets us moving. So I would take my target language and write however many words you think are appropriate that they would need to learn. I would write more if it were sort of a review. Some of them were reviews, some of them were new. I would write, sort of 20 if they were all completely or fairly new to them, of things that that they'll probably see when you go outside. And you could put some things that they won't, for example, the moon, if it's probably not going to be night. But what they have to do is on a clipboard, they have to check off what they see. They can collaborate. They can't use any aids, and they can't use you. So they have to negotiate the meaning. They have to use things like cognates. This would look a little different, of course, in a language like um, Chinese. You might have to give them some more hints and a little bit more support, help them out a little bit more. Um, but they're going to check off what they see, and they're going to basically try to figure out what that all means. And you're going to go out for a walk, and they should check off what they see, and they can collaborate. Then the next step, there after everyone has kind of interacted with the vocabulary. Maybe some students will be missing a few words here and there, and they can put their heads together and collaborate and make sure that everybody understands everything that's on the list. And the next step is to then draw their own nature scene, and they're going to label it using those words. So it's a fun activity. It gets us moving. It gets you outside. It can be done any time of the year as long as it's comfortable. Let's say it's winter, maybe you'd spend a few minutes outside and you come back inside and do the drawing kind of early. But it's fun, it's comprehensible input, it's a great way to acquire vocabulary, and it's interactive, um, and it's really nice to way to appreciate nature, I think, as well, and getting outside, a bit of a change of pace activity. So this next activity is do my shopping. So I love to do my shopping activities. So essentially, these can be adapted to any level, but in this is very much for beginners, beginning French activity. And so they're given the list and they have to actually find the things. So if you have a classroom, you have a lot of foods, you might do that. You might have, as many people have, flyers from your target language country. You can certainly find them online. The only thing is you don't want translating, so maybe you want to, give a hard copy of this. Some fun takes on this are doing something, a specific task. So you might just give them, you have to go shopping for the brunch that I'm giving on Sunday, or you might have to go shopping for, let's say, a birthday party that I'm hosting, or we're going to have a celebration about, fill in the blank. And so then they have to come up with the foods that are going to be served. So that's really fun. Another fun take on this are things like, shopping for clothes. So they have to shop for specific occasions. So let's say I'm going skiing, or you know, I'm going to my niece's wedding, for example, and they have to shop specifically for that. Some of these global brands are really fun, like IKEA. So they can furnish your a house or their house or your house with IKEA, and they have to use your target language site. Really quite fun. This next activity, I love activities with art because it gives such a great opportunity to interact with culture. And so, it can be the simplest type of interaction with culture. Learning about famous artist names, or learning practice on things like colors, and then it can go into things that are really deep and very layered, and have lot of substance and content and important discussion points, like Guernica, for example. If you're unfamiliar with it, of course, Guernica is a painting by Picasso about the Spanish Civil War. So there's a whole lot to talk about there, and there's things well beyond and in between, but basically interacting with art. And so a couple of beginning activities to interact with art in for a beginning language class. So if you see here, there's 4 pictures, and I would choose a selection of target language art, and you can even just put it up, however you display things. I do it in multiple ways. Let's say you have different pieces of art around your classroom, or you have set up like a series of 4 on a slide, which you can do. And so you describe the pictures, and they have to guess one. Is it A, B, C, or D? That's one way to do it. Another fun thing to do is to take some different pieces of art from your target language culture, and of course, I would introduce them. So let's say I've picked 4 or 5 portraits. Let's just say, we'll use some from, Velasquez or Goya, for example, or a mix of those. And I would show them to them, and I would describe them, and I would make it very interactive, kind of like movie talk. What are the colors? What do you see? I would describe it. I would ask a lot of questions while I did it. So they really had a chance to look at it and to listen and to talk. Then I would put the pictures away out of sight and describe to them what's happening in the picture again, and hopefully, they'll recall this because they just interacted with it. But then, use commands to tell them what to do to try to recreate the picture. And they can either maybe sketch it or draw it, or if it's a portrait, they can do those poses, and then you compare what you said to the picture. So it's really quite fun. And then, of course, they can simply, you can put these works of art around your room, and you can simply have them with a piece of even recycling paper. They walk around and they write a sentence about each with a partner. That's a fun beginning activity. This week, the last activity we're going to talk about are doodles. So I hate drawing because I'm not very good at it, though I do it a lot for my language learning because I think it's really powerful. So again, it's not something I enjoy, but I get so much benefit out of it that I'll do it. And I'm telling you how much I don't enjoy it because I think I'm kind of an outlier. I look around and I see people all the time doodling, and a lot of people are really quite good and they enjoy doing it. They'll be listening to whoever's talking, but they're sitting there drawing, they're making little doodles. So a fun way to harness that, and a lot of people are really talented, they enjoy the practice, they like it, to really harness that sort of interest slash talent slash skill, however you want to look at it, or combination of the 3, is that um, you can give them a list of vocabulary, the vocabulary that's in your book, and they have to make a 1-page doodle out of it. And I'm really always astounded at what people come up with. They're really creative and talented and interesting people, but then what they've got then is a cheat sheet throughout the chapter as well. So, or you can even display them in your room as reference. So I'm actually going to talk about one more activity. So this activity is exactly what it looks like, passing notes. So, of course we don't want people to pass notes, but I think it's a really fun thing. So everybody has to draw a name and then you have to write them a note, right? So if I'm a student, I draw somebody else's name, I have to write them a note, I have to deliver it. And of course, it needs to be really structured if this is for a beginner. Um, but it's a great way to get in those letter writing conventions. Dear so and so, maybe they have to write. You can make this fit with whatever it is you're doing. So they have to write what they ate last night, or maybe they have to write about something funny that happened, or their a memorable day. So of course this can go with whatever it is. And I think one thing that's really fun about a lot of language classes, particularly if they're interactive, is that they're a huge culture is built into it. So once it's established that risk taking is okay and it's a safe place, we can make mistakes. This is, you can start getting into the really fun practice things. A version of this we'll talk about later is about giving advice, but it can be as simple as listing what's in your backpack or listing your classes, and then they have to ask two questions, to something pretty rich and advanced. And we'll get into that later on when we talk a little bit about some of the more difficult things that we have to address in our courses. Until next time.